So, Lizzie, there's some more lewd acts you wanted to talk about. Is this truth, lies, or shenanigans?
It's shenanigans and truth because these things really did happen. But it's a bunch of shenanigans. And I have personal history with this, especially with the story that I'm going to put up first. Because remember, before I was a professor, veteran sports journalist. So I've come across people like this GM. So we're talking about Mets GM Jared Porta, it came out this week that back in 2016, when he was working with the Cubs baseball team, he met a reporter, an international reporter, and her name has not been released because they're trying to protect her identity. Apparently, she's from a country where women don't necessarily have the rights and the freedom to speak up and speak out for themselves as we do here. So her name has not been released. No pictures have been released. There is a language barrier. English is not her first language, and that kind of explains some of her hesitation in how she dealt with this situation. But when Mr. Porter was with the Cubs back in 2016, he met this reporter at a baseball at a baseball event, took a liking to her, started talking her up. They exchanged cards because she thought, I think he was assistant GM at the time, works with the Cubs. I could use him as a source. He could get me interviews. He could get me access. I've done that 1,000 times. I used to give out cards, especially my card, had my name, big old Sports Illustrated logo on the front. I gave my card out all the time. On your card, it has your telephone number. So he started texting her. Initially, very innocuous texts. Then all of a sudden, they turned into very flirtatious texts, or where he is soliciting something from her. He's telling her that she's sexy. He's telling her that she's very pretty. He wants to know, does she want to go get a drink? What does she think of him? Does she have a boyfriend? Then he starts sending her pictures, including the very lewd penis peck. He sent her a couple of pics. One, he sent her a few pics where he was laying on his bed, fully clothed, but you could see his erect dick print through his pants. Then, and at this point, she's no longer responding to him. She's no longer sending him text messages back or anything. Then, even though she hasn't responded, he sent her a picture of his naked, erect penis. So my question to the panel, first and foremost, what is up with the dick pics? Is that really how we are trying?
I guess we have to start with the dudes, huh?
Ladies out here, or actually not even just ladies, because if you're in a homosexual relationship, you might want to send a dick pic to some guy you see on the street and you like. But could you say hello first? Can you establish first before you just send the picture? So I'm going to start with Rob because he, one of the fellas on the panel.
Because Rob B's probably sent some dick pics out.
Right.
So let's be clear. The story is about unsolicited pics. Let's be clear. So it's a phenomenon that I don't understand. I've never understood it, this advent of dick pics and why guys do it. To me, it's akin to striking up a conversation with someone that you may find interesting in a public setting. I'm thinking in a bar, just walking up someone, hi, how are you? Just striking up conversation and then just innocuously pulling my member out and saying, hey, like, check it out. And just keep talking. What? It's not normal behavior. Nobody wants to see an unsolicited dick pic. I mean, the balls on these people. Wink.
Yeah.
So funny.
I don't get it. And it's for every woman who's received an unsolicited dick pic. I'm so sorry on behalf of all the guys out there. Like, that's just, nobody wants to see it.
Can I say that first of all, I've never even considered sending any type of pictures like that. And on top of that, every woman I've ever spoken to has always told me that they find that offensive, that they don't even get it. They don't find it like, I don't know, arousing in any way. So why would, I don't even know where the idea comes to send these dick pics unless a woman asks for it. I mean, there are some women out there that will ask for one. Sure. I mean, there's men out there that will ask for.
If you have established
Yeah,
that part of your relationship, yeah,
sure.
of course, of
Yeah.
course.
But
again, these people were at work. Let's make this clear. This was a professional relationship.
and see, and a reporter has to have a certain, is forced to have a certain rapport with someone like a GM of a sports team. So you have to maintain. You don't want to be like, you don't put them off completely, but at some point, obviously, you kind of entertain it slightly. But then, of course, when someone keeps pushing, I mean, of course, I'm sure she said no, I'm not interested, and all these other things, but she was probably trying to do a balancing act. But I'm curious what Gianni Storm has to say.
Yeah, so I mean the dick pics is kind of, I didn't know that we were still doing that in 2020. But I feel like because on one hand, this is, when I was reading the article, I was like, okay, this is not surprising. Like I felt like I was reading something that, like, not necessarily that I've personally been through, but something that I hear often. But given that he's a GM of the Jets and it's a sports situation, that I know that it's blown into a bigger proportion. So it's, I don't know, like it's like dick pics is unnecessary, but I think that
I
the
mean, would you
bigger
like
issue
receiving
is,
dick pics? I'm just curious.
no, I don't.
Okay.
I like
No.
sexy pictures, but I feel like I have to, like, it's mutual. Like it's like we have to have established some type of relationship, like Liz said, like of course. And then just a straight dick pic is like, it's not attractive. Like why, that's not an attractive feature on a person. Like I don't know. Like
That
maybe
is,
your abs or like something around you, but not, no, not your member.
you got a couple more minutes.
So a couple of quick things.
Yeah.
One, when I was doing online dating, you Match.com or a couple of other sites or whatever, you put up a profile and then you start texting with someone. That's how you interact initially. And then you may have your picture on your profile, or you may have your pictures as set it to private. And then when you start texting, you exchange pictures. I can't tell you the number of times, and these are guys I don't know. I barely know your first name. We've never met or anything. We certainly have not established that level of intimacy, but they would send a picture of their penis before they would send a picture of their face. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with that?
My wife told me some stories about that too.
You can look like Quasimodo, but I'm supposed to get hype over that big day? That makes absolutely no sense. If you go back to, Neo just pulled up a clip. This isn't as uncommon as a lot of you may think. Back in 2010, when Brett Favre, Hall of Fame quarterback Brett Favre, Super Bowl winning quarterback Brett Favre, he was no longer with the Packers, so now he's with the Jets. Jen Sturger actually used to work for Sports Illustrated, but at the time she was working for the Jets, and so that's how they came into contact. Saw her at a game, started talking her up. They exchanged numbers. Next thing you know, he starts texting her. He starts leaving her voicemails. He sent her a picture of his penis. Again, this is the starting quarterback for the New York Jets, married, 2 kids, and yet he's harassing
Must be a
this.
Jets fan.
And so of course she sent the pics to her friends. That's how it got leaked. She sent the pics to her friends, and then her friends leaked it to, I believe it was Deadspin, and Deadspin, they are gossip central when it comes to sports and entertainment. So they, not only did they release the text messages, they also released a picture of the penis.
Ridiculous.
Wow.
And there wasn't a lot of blowback for Brett Favre in this situation. He was embarrassed, But yeah, there wasn't a lot of repercussions for him. And then so this particular pick, and if any of my old Sports Illustrated people are watching this, they probably heard this story before. So Jet Magazine is a Black entertainment style magazine. I believe it started in the 70s, if you will. But each week was a weekly magazine. And each week they would have a beauty of the week, right? So when I worked at Sports Illustrated, I think I was still a writer reporter at the time. Worked at Sports Illustrated. One of my executive editors took a liking to me. He came over to my desk. We would chit chat or whatever. He would talk about how he can help me advance my career at the magazine, some ideas on what I should be focusing on, things like that. He comes over to my desk and he'll pull that picture up again. He came over to my desk and dropped this picture on my desk and said, I saw this and it made me think of you. Again,
That is
Oh,
this is
that's
not
beautiful.
a guy that I had a social relationship with,
Mm.
an intimate relationship with, a guy that I was interested in, again, married,
But even
kids.
that's such a weird thing to say, though.
My
It's
superior
very
on
inappropriate.
his job. He dropped it on my desk and said, I saw this picture of you. I saw this picture and it made me think of you. I was speechless.
I mean,
I
but
was speechless.
it's twofold though,
I
because
didn't curse him out or anything. I waited until he left, and then I made a beeline for my girls in the sports library, and I gave one of my dearest friends, my goddaughter's mother, Joy. I gave her this pic. She snatched it from me, and she was like, I know you think right now that you're not going to say anything, you're not going to report him because you're worried about your career, but I'm going to keep this as proof. And
Wow.
it's one of those things where if you think about it, if you talk to people, not just in the sports industry, but if you talk to a lot of women out there, this is a common story. As a sports journalist, I had unsolicited text messages from athletes whose wives were standing right there and they still trying to holler at me. I had to report an athlete for his harassment. Like, it happens a lot. And what I want to say to people, because some people are like, oh, she's asking for it or whatever. 9 times out of 10, when people go to work, they are there to do the job. When I'm at work, I am there to work, advance myself in my position, and make that money. I'm not trying to see your dick. Remember Matt Lauer at NBC? He had a whole room.
yeah,
He had a lock on the door, so the ladies, when they went to his office, they couldn't get out. But he had a whole room where he would go and he would just drop his pants
yeah.
in front of his coworkers. And so it's just like Rob said, I don't know where this mindset comes from, where men think we just automatically want to see their junk, see their sausage,
I mean, but
and then have
twofold.
to whip it out.
Twofold. I mean, even if you have a pretty good relationship with someone, right? And you drop the picture and say, "This reminds me of you." I mean, that's offensive in itself. I can't even imagine doing that to my wife and being like, "Hey, this woman reminds me of you." She would be offended by that. All right, but let's get to these
I was
comments.
fairly young, so I really didn't know what to say, how
Yeah.
to act. Did I ever report him? No, I did not. I did not.
Sherry Blaine Priest says there's nothing intriguing or arousing about receiving a random pic of someone's personal parts. Jeanette Brown says it's a scary looking piece of equipment, even when you're asking for it, in my honest opinion. Yana Zamora says to your story, I'm speechless now. Kevin Thaxton, talking about the picture, said she's a porn. Mike Winter says, were you supposed to drop panties right there? That's your line, bruh. We got to move on. We took a little extra time on that topic, so let's move on to the next topic.
Truth, lies,
Dick pics, y'all.
shenanigans.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
All right, Robbie, you're talking about some Canadian